All right, ladies and gentlemen, the main event that you've all been waiting for, and I could not be more excited to see this. It's incredible that we've even managed to get these players together to actually play a show match. NaNiwa is not known for his show match attendance, let's just put it that way.
No, he's pretty well known for his agreeing to do a show match. Not so much so for the attendance, but I guess if you have that much money on the line, that can motivate pretty much anyone. But for him, I don't know, at least if you go by what he says, the pride is a bigger issue. These two are pretty much neck and neck for the title of top foreigners. Both have their supporters and their detractors, but there's no clear consensus one way or the other. And NaNiwa really, really wants that title. So I don't know if it would even take the money to get him to play it at this point. I think he really just wants to beat her.
Yeah, I think so. It's been a really good year for Scarlett. NaNiwa has had fantastic placements, and just absolutely incredible placements in many tournaments. Scarlett really came into her own towards the end of the year, I think, and put on some really great performances, and perhaps overshadowed NaNiwa's consistency throughout this year.
Yeah, although to be fair, she had been performing very, very well the entire time. She'd just been in Korea. She hadn't been playing too many tournaments in the international spotlight. GSTL and the GSL qualifiers and whatnot that she was playing from over there didn't get a whole lot of attention. And WCS America was basically GSL light, so she was playing against really stiff competition there. And she would make it high every time, but they weren't the most exciting games because she wasn't playing against the big foreign stars. I don't know. I just feel like earlier on in the year she was still really, really good and still probably deserving of the credit she got towards the end of the year. She just wasn't getting the attention, and now she's finally coming into the spotlight. So I don't think it's even fair to say that she's just recently come into her own. I think this has been the year of NaNiwa and Scarlett all the way through, and people have just finally come to realize it.
Yeah, I think you might very well be right on that one. We are going to be hearing from both of the players. We've brought them both into the call right now. Let's hope the mics work. Scarlett, welcome to the show.
Hello, does this work?
It works absolutely fine. Fantastic. This is going way too well so far. I'm just waiting for something to go horribly wrong.
Well, there's a winter storm here right now, so hopefully my power doesn't go out.
Winter is coming, is it? Alright, well, you're up against the king in the north himself, the one and only NaNiwa. Welcome to the show.
Yes, hello.
You know, for someone called the king in the north and one of the best foreigners in the world, you are surprisingly shy when it comes to Skype calls sometimes.
I don't know. I just like to play the game. I don't really care much else.
Do we need to get you a spokesman?
Yeah, I'm sure Garfield is on the case.
yeah, he generally does a pretty good job of that. Now, anyway, if possible, could you up your mic volume just a little bit? That would be great.
I can't, but I can talk louder, I guess.
Okay, there you go. Put on your caster voice. Sounds like a good idea. Alright, Scarlett, I would like to know your thoughts on this matchup. You've been pretty outspoken in terms of what you think of Protoss right now. Now, I want to know how much of that is trash talk and how much of that is your legitimate concern.
Legitimate concern, mostly.
Now, it's surprising to hear that, because you've had a lot of success against Protoss, in particular in the Red Bull Battlegrounds New York. You almost whitewashed 3-0'd SOS, the world champion, did incredibly well, and then in the consolation match, you wiped the floor with MC, so what's the problem with Protoss?
Well, I was just really prepared for SOS, and he played exactly how I thought he would, and MC didn't really react properly to my builds. But against Parting, I still got crushed 2-0 at Red Bull.
Well, Parting was the eventual champion and took out SOS in fine fashion, so I don't think anyone's ever going to fault you for that one. What specifically do you think you're struggling against right now? Is it just the overall design of the race, or is there one thing in particular that's really been tripping you up?
Overall design of the race.
Fair enough. You wouldn't be the only one to actually express that. NaNiwa, is Protoss really designed in such a tricky and scary way that Zergs are so intimidated by it right now?
I don't know if I'm the one to speak about that, since I play Protoss, but there's a lot of things in PvC where if it goes unscouted, it can be very good, and if they scout it, then you're way behind. So the design is not very good in my opinion either, but if nothing crazy goes on and they both scout well enough, I think it's okay.
Now, I'd like to ask you guys about the map pool, because we had some big deliberations. We eventually decided on a 5-map pool. Now, I'd heard murmurings before this event, and kind of throughout the entire year, that tournaments were using map pools that were too large, and the pro gamers preferred smaller map pools. Is that true? I'll ask that to NaNiwa first.
Oh. I think as long as there's 2 vetoes, the map pools are fine. But, for example, DreamHack was 1 veto and then random. That's pretty bad in my opinion. I don't think there's ever been like 7 really good maps in the pool. So I think it makes a lot more sense to have 5 or 3.
Fair enough. Scarlett, what do you think about the map pool right now?
Yeah, I kind of agree. As long as there's vetoes, it's pretty much fine. I'm pretty much fine with all these maps except Yunsu. Unfortunately, even if you veto it in this way, it comes up eventually.
Yeah, we did mention that actually in the undercard match, that Yunsu was not a map you were really looking forward to.
I veto it on ladder always, so I don't really have any experience playing it.
Ah, fair enough. Now, I'd like to know actually what you guys think about the upcoming maps. There are a couple of maps that seem to be in contention right now, including Altazim, also known as the big blue horrible map that nobody likes. Is that a map that you're looking forward to playing on, or do you agree with the consensus there, Scarlett?
Well, I've never actually played it, so I have no idea, but it looks pretty bad.
Fair enough. NaNiwa, is it a map that you've had a chance to play on?
I played it once, and then I thumbed it down.
Oh.
I don't really like it, but I haven't played enough to judge, but it looks pretty good for Zerg, I'd say.
Now, you've been a little bit outspoken on the return of the gold base. Habitation Station is looking like it may very well be in the map pool. What do you think of that map?
I do think gold is really good for Zerg, especially on that map. A roach attack is very effective. I played Scarlett on that map, and the timings are quite fast, and it's going to be quite annoying to have to deal with that, but maybe it will be fine in HOTS. I don't know.
We'll certainly see about that. Now, Scarlett, your dislike for Protoss is, of course, well known, but the recent buff that caught a lot of people by surprise, of course, was the speed buff for the Oracle. Do you think that's really affected the PvZ matchup, or is it just versus Terran right now that it's a problem?
It's not too big of a change compared to PvT. Sometimes they do silly, like, 7 Oracle builds right now, and if you don't scout that, you just lose the game immediately. But other than that, it doesn't make too big of a difference, I think.
Alright. Now, before we begin this match, the first map, of course, will be Star Station. This was predetermined. We got that map list a couple of days before, and the players have had the chance to practice it. Scarlett, what would you like to say to your opponent today as we go into this best of 7?
Well, Protoss is pretty imbalanced, but that doesn't really play a factor in this matchup because I'm gonna beat you anyways.
Fair enough. NaNiwa, your response to that?
Not much to say, I guess. We'll see. I don't think it will be a very hard match, though.
Oh, alright. Well, we'll see how far it goes. I think a lot of people are hoping for it to go all the way through to 7 maps. We'll see if either of you can stop that from happening. Before we start, are there any shout-outs you'd like to give to your team, to your sponsors, to anyone else, starting with you, Scarlett?
Mostly thank you to my team Acer. They've supported me pretty much since I've started playing Starcraft professionally. Thank you to the players in our Zerg Skype chat who we always chat and give advice to each other. That's like Suppy, Kane, Samsung Solar, Major, Ghost User, Suppy if I didn't say him, and Angelisk.
Awesome. NaNiwa, any shout-outs from you before we begin?
Shout out to my teammate, sort of, for helping me prepare. That's all.
Will sort of be the secret weapon that you need, I guess. We will certainly find out in this matchup. NaNiwa, Scarlett, to your stations, please. Make sure you're in the lobby and ready to rock and roll. This best of 7 is about to begin. 14 Bitcoins on the line, and we will see you soon. Alright, well. The usual, I think, reserved interview style from both of them there. They're not really known for their huge trash talk.
You could at least hear NaNiwa yawn as Scarlett was throwing down the gauntlet there at the end. That was a nice little bit of flavor.
I like that. I like that, certainly. I think if we did the pre-game interviews over Twitter, then they would have an entirely different flavor, but on Skype, perhaps not so much.
You should actually hire 2 voice actors, have them do, like, trash talk each other via text beforehand, and then have a dramatic reading of it instead of a pre-game interview. I think that would be way more effective for most gamers.
All of these sound like phenomenal ideas, and it's just kind of a shame that we didn't get that beforehand. Now, before we start, of course, I would really like to thank the sponsors that made this happen. Bitcoin Magazine, Coinapult, SafeFollow, Blockchain.info, Reddit Bitcoin, that's r/Bitcoin, and the Starcraft Bitcoin Open, which might be particularly interesting to people. Those of you who don't know, one of the guys involved with Starcraft Bitcoin Open is actually the same person that was helping us with the Starboard virtual jersey, the one with the little sponsors underneath. He's been all in on Starcraft for a long time, and Starcraft Bitcoin Open is currently in beta, and it's an automated service which allows anyone to play Starcraft and win Bitcoin, featuring a gauntlet paid tournament ladder system. So that's something that might end up being very interesting going into 2014.
I actually hadn't heard of it. That's really cool. That's been something that a lot of people have been talking about for a long time. Just some way to play almost like a combination of poker plus the ladder. You know, you put some money on it, you get to play for something more than just ladder points. If that actually comes through and works out well, that'd be really cool.
That is very true. We're just sorting out the lobby right now. We actually have a full roundup of spectators for this one. We have casters now from 7 different countries. So at the moment, we're actually waiting for the admin to leave so we can invite NaNiwa. That's how full this lobby actually is.
Just start taking bets on how long the loading screen is going to last. I don't think I've ever seen a lobby with this many people in it.
Yeah, well, we got everyone to preload the maps, so hopefully it won't take too long. At least I'm hoping they actually preloaded the maps. If they didn't, then that could be a bit of a bind. Oh, hang on. What is he in? You must invite this player to your party. Yes, Nani is going to have to add me as a friend, and then I can bring him in here.
I thought he had already changed that. Oh.
No, apparently not. It's a little awkward when you have this many spectators in the lobby, so hopefully this will sort itself out. Everything is set up. We do have Asa Toss Imba in the lobby, so wearing her heart on her sleeve.
I think she genuinely means that, too. She's been... Because she's not the kind of person who just complains about everything. She's pretty open about the fact that she feels fine versus Terran, as long as they don't play mech or anything. And she's very, very honest about her opponents and whatnot. If she says that she thinks CVP is hard, I think she honestly feels pretty uncomfortable against Protoss.
Well, I just invited NaNiwa, and then he just said BRB, so it looks like we'll be waiting a couple of minutes. I'd like to hear your predictions on this one, because as you said, Scarlett seems to feel very uncomfortable against Protoss, but her results, especially lately, don't indicate that that's really the case.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm very biased. I'm not the biggest NaNiwa fan. I like Scarlett quite a bit, and I am a Zerg player on top of that, so I'm really hoping Scarlett wins. And I don't know. I think it'll be close either way. But NaNiwa, the thing is about when NaNiwa, when he goes into a tournament, he tends to come with just 1 or 2 very specific, they seem cheesy, they seem one-dimensional, but generally he has them very well thought out and he can follow them up. But he comes in with very certain build orders and he does them over and over and over. And if you do that in a show match against someone who's very prepared for you and someone who's had time to study you and Scarlett prepares very well. She watches VODs of her opponents. She goes into that little Zerg think tank she mentioned. She figures out how to beat him. If he does that against her and she's prepared for whatever it is he's going to pull out and he doesn't have anything up his sleeve, I could see that really backfiring on him and costing him an easy victory for Scarlett. But if he's playing a little bit more generically, if it's going to come down to more macro games back and forth, not particularly build order oriented, I think it should be very close. Just skill wise, these players are about as good as it gets for foreigners and very, very close to each other, I'd say.
NaNiwa confirms ready. We are about ready to rock and roll, folks. Star Station TE will be the location. The countdown has now begun for NaNiwa versus Scarlett. 14 Bitcoins on the line. Lot of money, and the split, as it turns out, is pretty crazy as well. The vast majority of that money is going to the winner, so it's not fully winner takes all, but there's a hell of a lot of money going to that winner. There's a lot on the line here for these players, as well as, of course, the pride of being named, at least for today, the best foreigner.
Now that I don't have to compete for it and go through the stress of it anymore, I really like the more winner-take-all kind of format. Like, not necessarily winner-takes-all, but very top-heavy. I think it's terrible for the competitors. It's so painful.
Exactly.
And it's not particularly good for, like, the sustainability of esports when we look at GSL and stuff like that. But it's so much more exciting when you're watching a match and you know that an actual $10,000 is on the line.
Yeah, it seems like everyone that's not in any way involved in it is really happy with winner takes all, and then every other player's like, nope, not gonna happen. That's not a good idea.
Yeah. For the ongoing leagues, for the stuff that's like the backbone of competition, there needs to be a better distribution just to support the lower level players. But for show matches, you might as well go whole hog and really put the emphasis on the winning.
Indeed. We are almost in the map, folks. Obviously, the first map is going to take quite a long time to get going, but we are here, we are in, and we are about to begin. Make sure that everything is absolutely 100% good, and it is. Alright, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Star Station TE. In the Bitcoin Starcraft Challenge, I bring you Alliance NaNiwa. He is in the red trunks and he is playing Protoss to the northwest, versus his opponent to the southeast position. In the very, very bright blue trunks playing Zerg, hailing from Team Acer, it is Scarlett.
I'm curious which Scarlett we're going to see here, because she seems to have two main goals in CVP. She either plays, if she thinks her opponent is going to be really aggressive and two-base all-in, as NaNiwa can do, is very, very capable of, then she really likes this strange Ling Infestor star. We actually saw her use it against Hitman, where she just kind of stays on two-base. She doesn't really get too greedy. So get her upgraded Lings out, take control of the game with that, and then go into Infestors or maybe some other kind of tech to follow it up. And if she puts NaNiwa on a two-base all-in, I think she might try that, but we saw, like, she lost to Hitman. NaNiwa is like Hitman on steroids times 10. So, I don't know how well that would work out for her. Then in the macro games, her macro game seems actually very... That's the biggest weakness is that she goes for mutas. That's her thing. She maybe does a timing attack, but then she gets to mutas. And a lot of Zergs play like that, but if you're that predictable, if you have that few options that you really feel comfortable with, that can be a very, very major handicap.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the style that she seemed to default to, particularly in the tournaments at the latter half of the year, which involved a fairly heavy Sky Toss style, a lot of mutas, and then eventually just backing it up with Corruptors, striking wherever she could, and then taking full-on engagements only when she felt comfortable doing so. And it was actually working against Protoss, which conventional wisdom would think that it wouldn't. Do you think that that style is particularly strong?
She has the multitasking to make it work against 99% of Protoss players. But then when you get up against someone who's really, really smart and willing to apply pressure at the right times, like Parting, for instance, we saw just deal with it quite easily, then you can run into some issues. It's a style with definite weaknesses. And even in macro games, if you get up your Phoenix account early enough, you can't go Panic Phoenix against it because it kind of snowballs. But if you already have that fleet up, you can already take back map control immediately and start putting on pressure before the Zerg gets upgrades, before they get their 5th base running, before they get their tech going. Then, I don't know, it's not the most reliable, stable style. It's more of a, I'm going to outplay you. I'm just going to be better than you. And she can get away with that against a lot of people. Whether she can get away with it against NaNiwa, I don't know, because he's going to put pressure on you. He's not a very passive player. He can play a death ball. He knows what units to make. He knows how to expand and whatnot. But that's not what he wants to do. He wants to be in your face. He wants to be taking advantage of his control and his aggression and his decision-making, more so than his macro.
That certainly seems to be the case. NaNiwa starting off with the Gateway Expand, which is... You could even maybe argue that he was one of the players to really popularize that opening. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. That DreamHack, where the finals ended up being him versus Lina, he did end up losing that, but he got to the finals on the back of beating a bunch of good Protosses by going Gateway Expansion into really, really hard early aggression. And he was one of the first... That style was around on ladder. It was something people were playing with at the start of HOTS, but he was the first Protoss to really do it a lot over and over, like, reliably. Ooh, and we see a Twilight Council, and this early, that's probably going to be a super fast DT rush, almost guaranteed.
It's a nice little move as well. NaNiwa is deliberately looking for scouting overlords and anything that could possibly see it, and Scarlett is not in a good position to actually scout that at all. We noticed in her matchups against Hitman, actually, that her scouting seemed to be a little bit of a weakness for her, and it looks like this Twilight Council is not going to get spotted anytime soon.
Definitely not. She's not going to know for sure that it's coming, but the fact that he got a Stalker out that quickly, he actually got a Stalker before his Nexus, which is very, very uncommon, and then he's using it to clear out scouting information. That shows a very big dedication to keeping something secret. And she just saw the probe coming out as well with her Zerglings. So she should know something's up. It's just going to be whether or not because she definitely feels something is wrong here. You see that, you know something's up. It's just whether or not she trusts her instincts and puts down those Panic Spore Crawlers or not. Because this is so early. If you don't have them down, it's going to do a lot of damage.
Well, so far we only see a Roach Worm coming out. No spores as of yet. They don't take too long to build. Of course, they don't need an evolution chamber anymore, as people keep reminding me. But let's see where the pylon is. It's in a good spot right now, and she has not spotted it anywhere. Nowhere close to seeing it. Metabolic boost is not done yet, not for a long time. This is not good right now. There's still no spores coming down here. Of course, no latex or no overseer either. Scarlett is going to be in a lot of trouble here, surely.
That Roach Warren is really bad news. She thinks this is a warp gate rush. NaNiwa is only building the gas that she can't see at as natural, so it looks like he's on 2 gas, which says 6 or 8 gate. And oh, the spore crawlers do come down, but the Dark Giant's already completed on it. And there's only 1 spore crawler. This is not good at all. She thinks this is going to be a warp gate all-in.
And this Stalker has just danced its way through hell and back again, and has actually stayed alive. It will eventually die, but it'll account well for itself. This Mothership Core actually got kills against things that don't have 2 hit points, which is pretty impressive. And here come the DTs. That was a mere distraction.
Yeah, she put down the 1 spore crawler, but that was only to fend off the Mothership Core. Just now she realizes, with that gas coming down, with those DTs walking in, this is the first time she knows it's not going to be a warp gate all-in, and she's just not prepared for it. That hatchery's going to fall, as long as he doesn't let a spore crawler get up, and he's not going to.
No, this is looking like it could be a very early game 1 here from NaNiwa. A very nicely prepared build that catches Scarlett off guard here. This natural hatchery is certainly dead. The 3rd base is still up right now, so she may continue to try and play this out, but she's certainly taken critical damage. And a double Stargate is the follow-up here.
Double Stargate's very interesting off 2 base. If he goes to 3 bases, if he's playing more of a mid-game macro kind of thing, he likes to do the heavy Void Ray Star like we saw from In Control the first game of the undercard match. So I would imagine that's just for that. He's going to start up Void Rays. He's going to take his 3rd base and macro from there. But he may be doing a really Void Ray heavy Warp Gate all in because he's just decided that his DTs get enough damage. There's no reason to let her stay in the game for that much longer.
Well,
but yeah, taking that.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think you were going to say she has 2 bases full saturation. She's taking a 3rd. She has detection up, including overseers, so she can kind of retake map control. But losing that hatchery early on, as well as a queen, a couple of other drones, she took damage beyond just the hatchery falling. So it's not like the previous game where In Control took out a hatchery at the cost of 7 sentries and nothing else. He has only lost a couple of zealots. He killed the hatchery. He killed queens. He killed economy. So this is a really, really bad situation for her. However, NaNiwa has essentially no units at home. He's doing kind of a greedy Void Ray transition, just assuming that the DTs would give him map control. She might catch him and force a cancel on the 3rd, but the first 2 Void Rays are already out, so it's looking like he's going to be okay.
Yeah, there's a Mothership Core here with a lot of energy as well. Photon Overcharge won't be an issue, but a Time Warp certainly wouldn't be bad here, and he knows that. Throws down a tactical force field to allow for maximum coverage here, and his units account for themselves pretty well. The DTs, of course, fighting well, and he knows, if I can get rid of these Overseers, this is not going to be a factor. The 2nd Overseer is about to go off there. Force field placed down. Roach is trying their best to make something happen here, but NaNiwa has shut this out well.
Yeah, those DTs are invincible now. The Void Rays targeting down the Overseers, no other Overlord or Overseer anywhere nearby, and additional Void Rays coming out now, just more and more DPS. And that Nexus isn't even going to fall. Plus, she's lost all those units, so she now has no map control. He has 3 bases running with double Stargate producing. We do have a Spire about to finish for Scarlett, so I have to imagine she's going to try and mute a switch. That's what we said. That's what she likes to do. Yeah. She sees Void Rays. She knows she has to do something. She's not going to have the mass to do any kind of Roach Hydra timing. She doesn't really have much going for her at all. She can't try and transition into the late game without making anything happen. And mutas are the best way to do that. And she does start the +1 air upgrades. So she will be going for mutas. But this army coming across the map from NaNiwa, that's 3 DTs, a Mothership Core, and 4 Void Rays. Not your normal marauding forces. But Scarlett just has so little stuff, it might work out anyway. Because 9 mutas against 4 Void Rays and Mothership Core, they don't really kill it that fast. And the DTs are going to be doing damage in the meantime.
Yeah, they are. And there really isn't all that much here for Scarlett. Yeah, she's got a nice bank of gas, and she's working on it right now. And she's going to be sitting on 8 gas as well. But that involves her actually surviving. And this 4th base is about to pop in about 5 seconds. The overcharge goes off on the Void Rays, and the recall comes in. He doesn't actually get the base there, which is a little unfortunate. I think perhaps he was worried that there were going to be more mutas than that.
Honestly, it was smart by him because that Mothership Core was about to die. If we look at it, I don't know. I think it was into red hit points.
Yeah, it was 32. Yeah.
And if that dies, then she loses everything else as well. And it's not worth trading. Or he loses. Pardon me. He loses everything else as well because he can't recall out and he can't run away from the mutas. So trading for 4 Void Rays, 3 DTs, and Mothership Core for a hatchery, not really worth it. So good judgment call by him. Actually, perfect timing on that recall out. He couldn't have let it last any longer. So well done by him. And he also got the scouting information. He saw the mutas. He's already pumping out Phoenix. Adding an additional an additional Stargate. So those mutas not really going to do anything, and without them doing anything, not sure what Scarlett's fallback is going to be because she just doesn't have much besides the mutas.
Yeah, that's going to be a problem. Those Phoenixes, NaNiwa's micro is known to be really, really good. And those Phoenixes are going to have a lot of fun here. They do slightly miss target there on the Overseers, so she is able to keep those Mutalisks alive, but there's even an Archon on the ground and Void Race following up, so these are on the run, and we are seeing a transition into that style I mentioned earlier with the Heavy Muta Corruptor. She's still sitting on 8 gas, which means she can produce an awful lot of air units, but getting anything done with them, as you mentioned, is difficult. She's only killed 5 workers up to this point. She did pick off a sentry, which was a nice little grab, but that's not enough to really get her back into the game in a big way.
No, it isn't. And those Corruptors, they will help against the Phoenix, but they only really zone the Phoenix. They don't kill stuff. And then it's just a question of how she's going to deal with the rest of the army, because there's lots of Void Rays there. There's a couple of Archons there, which is a real big problem. Some Zealots, and he can continue to warp in. So even if he can't just chase her Mutas down with the Phoenix, as we saw before, even if she can keep those alive, it's just how is she going to deal with this army? How is she going to keep the rest of her base alive? Because she doesn't really have anything else to work with.
This 4th base is going to die, surely. I mean, it was already on low HP to begin with. That amount of Void Rays will pop it in under a second. That's not the kind of thing that she can really hold. I think she's just trying to trade that 3rd base for as much of the enemy as possible here. Void Ray charge goes off. The Queens try and fight as well. The Corruptor's unfortunately not at the front taking most of the fire here, so the Mutalisks are not having a good time. There were about 20, there's now only 5. Absolutely decimated by the Protoss army there, and the Archons continue to remain on the ground here, and this 4th base is most assuredly forfeit.
Yeah, this is the problem with going Mutas. Of course, she was behind to begin with from that DT start, so that does not help. But if your Mutas get scouted right away, your opponent can get Archons and Phoenix out in a timely fashion. There's a very big window before you hit critical mass of Mutas where you can really force a base trade, or before you can actually take down split armies. And NaNiwa, just, perfect response, perfect decision making, knowing exactly how to punish it, and just rolling right on through her.
Yeah,
pretty easy
certainly.
game 1 win.
Yeah, I certainly think so. There's not really any way to come back from this. We see Scarlett defending as best she can with Mutalisks, but she doesn't have enough. She already lost a couple as they tried to join up with the army. The Archon's just having an absolute field day here in the minimal line. There is the GG. And the first one of this best of 7 show match goes to NaNiwa.
Cute little build from him. It seems like just a simple DT rush, but there was a decent amount of nuance to it. Getting that early Stalker out, it's a bit of a tell. It says that something funny is going to happen, but it doesn't say what. And he used it to carefully deny any scouting information. There was no chance that she was actually going to get in there and see the shrine. Then only taking the hidden gas, making sure that she couldn't see. Basically, she just thought he was doing a warp gate all in. She could see that he hadn't taken one of his gases, assumed it was going to be a 6 or an 8 gate, something along those lines. That really early Roach Warren. Perfect response if it is a warp gate rush, but not what you want against the DTs. So he really hit that quite well. And then from there, easy win for him.
I certainly think so. That was a nice pick on Star Station there. He did very, very well. The second map is going to... I believe we actually already have that all sorted out. We're just switching regions right now. Some people were asking, well, how are you balancing the lag issues? They're not in the same country right now. Absolutely. We are alternating servers between each map to make sure that we have the fairest possible environment for these players. Neither of the players were complaining about lag. NaNiwa was actually testing his connection to America last night, and of course, since he has the glorious Swedish internet, he's really not concerned about the lag at this point.
Yeah, that game, it really wouldn't have played too much of a role.
No.
And Universe Phoenix can be kind of iffy in questionable latency, but if anything, it was NaNiwa who was kind of messing up his control a little bit. It didn't really end up mattering either way there. So if it had dragged out, if it had been a closer game, maybe. But as is, no big deal.
Yeah. Bel'shir is going to be the second map. The map order right now goes something like this. Star Station was the first map. We then have Bel'shir, followed by Frost, Yonsu, and Polar Night. At which point the map pool will then refresh. Each player will receive 1 veto at that point. In fact, they have already vetoed the maps for the second refresh, which is Scarlett vetoing Yonsu, which we heard earlier, Scarlett hates that map, and then NaNiwa vetoing Polar Night, which leaves Star Station, Bel'shir, and Frost in a loser picks format. So, first 5 maps determined. If it goes to 6 and 7, we go to loser picks from there on in.
Bel'shir for the next map. Bel'shir's the map. It's been around for a really, really long time. And it's the kind of map that everyone's kind of comfortable on. It's almost never vetoed by either side, P or Z. A lot of Protosses feel pretty comfortable with it. There's lots of big ramps and high grounds that you can take control of. It's really good for Protoss death balls if you can get it going. But at the same time, there's 2 sides to it. You can do a back and forth Muta kind of style that Scarlett obviously is very fond of. You really just run your opponent around the map. I'm not sure who I would say this favors. Did they choose the map order? Did they have to pick?
They choose the map order.
Who chose Bel'shir?
That is a really good question. I think that might have actually been NaNiwa. as it turns out. I'm pretty sure that Scarlett got the first map pick. I would have to look back in the logs here. In fact, I may be able to find that out.
Yeah, I would expect Scarlett to be going more towards the maps like Star Station to an extent, also Frost, where it's harder to take a third base, a bit easier, just bigger, more macro, more open map-oriented kind of things. Whereas NaNiwa should be looking for the more pressure-oriented maps. And Bel'shir is on the bigger end of that, but it's kind of in vain.
Yep. I don't know who actually picked it. It looks like they actually had that discussion in private. So, oh no, never mind. They didn't actually. It was in fact NaNiwa that picked Bel'shir. So that first map was actually, I believe that was Scarlett's pick, and then of course we have NaNiwa's pick Bel'shir, Frost for Scarlett, and Yonsu then of course for NaNiwa, as you might imagine, then Polar Night being the 5th map. And then we have the refresh. So that's how that's currently working.
Yeah, that's not surprising. That's always a really good, or like a really good feeling for you as a player when your opponent picks the first map, then you win anyway, and then you get to move on to your map. On here, it's Bel'shir. It's not like, if he had picked Yunsu second, I would say that was absolutely fantastic for him. Bel'shir is a bit more of a neutral map, so there's not going to be too much going for him. But if, for instance, like he won the first game on one of her maps, and then got to play on Yunsu, where we know she's very uncomfortable. And it's just such a good feeling as a player. It gives you a lot of confidence.
Yeah, I certainly think so. I'm quite surprised not to see Yonsu come out second there from NaNiwa, but it seemed like he wanted to save that for later on. Perhaps he didn't even expect to win the first map.
Oh yeah, you don't really want to count on that. It's more important to save it for the more crucial parts of the series. Like, you can't choose the last map since we are doing the map reset kind of format.
Exactly, yeah.
But you'd love to have that for the last map. So if it goes to that all-deciding, all-important thing, then your opponent's not going to be in a really good mental state at a point where you're already going to be kind of nervous because you're going to be playing with that much money on the line.
Yeah, you're totally right there. All right, game 2 is coming up, folks. Bel'shir Vestige will be the target for this one. NaNiwa, as you can see on the screen, very much the victor of the first map here. And now we have Scarlett versus NaNiwa on Bel'shir Vestige for game 2. Best of 7, 14 Bitcoins on the line, brought to you by the sponsors that you can see below. Thank you very much to all of them for making this possible. Very much an enthusiast effort from those guys. Not looking for a return necessarily, just looking to put on a really cool event, and they are doing just that.
That they are.
That they are indeed. Alright, we are going into this game right here. So get the scores right. There we go. Wonderful. Okay, Bel'shir Vestige to the southeast position. In the red trunks playing Protoss. Playing, of course, for Team Alliance. His name is NaNiwa. Versus his opponent, who drops her first game against the Swedish Protoss on Star Station there. To the northwest position in the purple trunks playing Zerg, it is Ace Scarlett.
And right now she's sitting there thinking, what's he going to do to me this game? When you lose to a Shees, and that was a very, very cheesy build. You go, I think, a Stalker into a Twilight Council off Gateway expansion. That's very, very risky. If she had the spores up, if those DTs don't do anything, NaNiwa's in big trouble. But when you lose to that kind of thing in the first game, it really, really messes with your head going forward. Because, especially against someone like NaNiwa, who you already know going into the match, he's capable of anything. He'll do anything from, like, we've even seen him do 1 base, 4 gate, no expansion, kind of silly warp gate all-ins, all the way up to a normal macro game and everything in between. So when you already know your opponent is that versatile and that dangerous, and then he just goes ahead and proves it that effectively in the first game, it's really, really uncomfortable. But it looks like he's actually going to be going for a Nexus first here. He has a bunch of probes queued up, and she... normal pool timing. On Bel'shir, of course, you pretty much have to go pool first because cannon rushes are just so strong on here. So no surprises from either player.
Yeah, it's not like NaNiwa is above cannon rushing. He will absolutely do that. I mean, NaNiwa to me seems like, out of all of the foreigners, he is the biggest when it comes to the killer instinct and just kind of playing the Korean style of do anything necessary to win.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is basically just what I was saying before, but I would say he's probably the most diverse of the competitive foreign Protosses, like the big names. Everyone is much more stylistic, and he certainly has a style. If anything, I'd say it is the aggression, the 2-base pressure, but he's capable of doing anything and doing it quite well. Mostly, it comes down to his army control, because that's all Protoss really is from very, very early on to all the way late in game. If you can control your units well, you can be a good Protoss player, and he has that, and he can apply it to pretty much everything. That's what makes him so dangerous.
That's very true. He also seems to prepare very specifically for his opponents. You mentioned it before, and you were not the only one to mention it, that every tournament we see NaNiwa just bring this one build in particular. And it has varying success, but every now and again, it's a build that really carries him forward. It's not that he's not capable of playing other builds, but he'll prepare one thing specifically that's really nasty to deal with. Maybe it was that DT opener there. That's a possibility, but I am really looking forward to seeing what else he's actually got in his arsenal there. I mean, this is a best of 7. He's got to be pretty well prepared. He can't really go into it without any builds sort of in the chamber to use against Scarlett.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll have a bit more diversity here. I mean, he's already gone with the Nexus first instead of the Gateway expansion, as he did the previous game. Although, it's worth noting, he probably should have mentioned it already, but he actually went Nexus Gateway Cybercore, which is pretty much the greediest build you can do. There's no cannon, there's no wall-in, even. He would be completely exposed to any kind of attack. But if you get away with this, you have both the economy of the Nexus first, which is, of course, a very powerful economy. And then you also have the very fast tech almost of a Gateway expansion. Obviously a little bit delayed, 400 minerals delayed, but otherwise very, very quick. But Scarlett's actually going to scout this immediately, and doing a little bit of harass at the same time. So this is really, really good for her in that she's going to know that he has a potential to do a very quick warp gate rush or some kind of very quick aggression, very quick tech, very fast anything, basically.
Yeah. Scarlett has yet to actually do any damage, though. She's just picked off a probe there. NaNiwa was up to that point doing a really good job of keeping his probes away, but it seems like he was loath to miss any more mining time.
Yeah, it gets kind of annoying after a point. You kind of just want to send them back. And actually, a very quick robo here. Very, very quick. Because, as I said, that Cybercore already finished. The robo starting around the 540 mark. It's a good 30, 40 seconds faster than it normally is, I believe. So, if he chooses to do this into an Immortal all-in, and he has a penchant for that kind of build, the very, very fast Zealot-based Immortal and Warp Prism pushes, if he does that, it's going to be very scary. But Scarlett's staying on 2 bases, so she's kind of expecting something like this. She's playing a little bit more conservatively, defensively, not really sticking herself out there and taking that 3rd base. And she's actually going for the double Evo Ling Heavy build that I mentioned before the first game. And
we'll see how well that works out for her.
Yeah, it's something. If it's successful, it's really successful. If you manage to catch the first army and kill it off, you just get complete map control with your Lings. Protoss can never take a 3rd base, and by the time they can move out, you have a 3rd base established and either a bunch of Infestors or a bunch of Spire tech ready for them. And it's actually going to be a Warp Prism first, so he's going for very quick, probably aiming to take the ramp, force field that off, and just warp in a bunch of sentries. And it seems like against 2-base play, that wouldn't be so good, because it's very conservative. But if you get a force field on the ramp, they don't have a bunch of units in their main, it doesn't really matter what else is going on. If you get control of that area, that can be the end of it for them. And a 3rd hatchery, actually. This is earlier than she normally takes her 3rd base with this style. So we're seeing a bit of deviation from her. I guess going for more macro-oriented play off of the Massling opener instead of going for the very quick Infestors like we saw in previous games.
With this Warp Prism out, do you feel that earlier hatchery is going to cause her any problems?
Yeah, definitely, because she didn't go for a Speedling opening. We see speed is only maybe a quarter of the way done, so that's not going to really help her hold this off. No roaches anywhere near, and that 3rd hatchery is a bit exposed. If he just warps in a bunch of Zealots here, I think he right-clicks on it and it dies. And he's actually going a Robo behind this, and Colossus is absolutely fantastic in his style. Just obviously, it's Colossus against Circling. That's about as good as you can hope.
Absolutely. The Mothership Core's taken a lot of damage already, though, which may force NaNiwa to recall. He has, of course, shown that he's loath to lose the Mothership Core, specifically with that much energy on it. There are a lot of Lings out on the map right now. If Scarlett got a good engagement here, it would be great, but she doesn't have Metabolic Boost up yet, and there's that right click you were talking about. The Ling's now coming in, the Queen's trying to support it, just trying to hold on until she's able to get Metabolic Boost. A lot of damage done to the Mothership Core yet again, and these Lings trapped in the Time Warp as those Zealots make their way into attack. At least they're not +1 Zealots. That would be kind of disastrous. She goes for yet another surround. She can't get it right now. She's keeping this hatchery alive. A second Time Warp comes in. Lings make their way out. More Lings coming on the way here. And this attack, for the most part, has been thrown back for the moment, but it's still a threat. All of these units are still alive.
Speedling has finished. 1-1 is not just yet, but NaNiwa is actually going in and getting surrounded, so these Zealots are all going to die. That was a bit questionable from him. I think he should have run away as soon as he saw the massive Speedlings. He had already won the efficiency battle there. He forced a lot more investment out of Scarlett than he put in himself. Plus, he has Colossus coming back at home, and Colossus against Ling Infestor is already great to begin with. So I feel like he really was in a good shape there. Losing that many Zealots, not the best. You'd rather not do that. But still, he's going to have a very good composition here. But she has a lot of Zerglings out on the map. He really has to watch out for a counterattack, or just, if those Zerglings manage to do anything, it can really snowball.
Yeah, there's a lot of sentries out here, plus the Colossus, so I can't see them getting into this base unless NaNiwa decides to actually leave, and Scarlett probably doesn't want to risk those at the front with that many force fields available, but we are seeing that Infestor style come out right here, and we've seen it crush numerous players, actually. We saw it used, in fact, I think against Hitman, and that didn't work, funnily enough, but it worked very well at Asus Rock Northcon. She used that several times.
Yeah, in a similar game, she actually did lose to Hitman. He went 2-base Colossus, ended up killing her with it in a very similar game. Although that game, I think that was a little bit better for Hitman early on. She actually threw away a lot of Zerglings there. Here she's keeping him alive, actually counterattacking with it. And she is going to take down that gateway. He has the force field. He missed the force field. Oh, that's terrible for NaNiwa.
Oh, yeah, the sentries get surrounded there. The Lings are now making their way into the base. This attack that's halfway across the map that doesn't have a mothership core with it is actually going to have to go for a base trade here because there are... don't think there's enough Zealots here to hold this off. There certainly isn't. The Lings are continuing to do damage here. The Protoss player now posturing towards the third base. His economy gets absolutely ravaged.
Yeah, those are 1-1 Lings. NaNiwa has 0 upgrades, no forge, no nothing. So those Lings are going to beat anything that he warps in. NaNiwa just has to all in here. He should be warping in at his attack. He should just accept the all in at this point. But a bunch of Infestors out, some Spine Crawlers, some Spore Crawlers, more Zerglings on the way. I don't know. A nice... Ooh, nice fungal takes out 4 sentries there for
brutal,
Scarlett.
yeah. That's not good at all here for NaNiwa. I mean, the situation was already pretty dire for the Protoss. It's now getting even worse. The question is, can he break the natural with the army that he currently has? Because his base... it's not entirely forfeit, but he lost a lot of production at home. His economy is in tatters. There's only 29 drones left. Another fantastic fungal comes out right here, and another to follow that one up. More sentries die, more zealots die. She is hitting it time and time and time again here.
Yeah, and the army is small enough now that those upgraded Zerglings can easily take everything else out. A bunch of Queens actually hitting the Immortals, and the Zerglings do run in this round. And
that's devastating.
That'll be the end of it. NaNiwa was completely all in on that. Although he is NaNiwa, he doesn't like to leave games, so he might stick around. But at this point, she's just in complete control. 2-2 upgrades, as you said, a Hive on the way, in fact. Bunch of Infestors out. I don't think he even killed an Infestor throughout all of that. Third base dies, but after you kill that many probes and you kill that big of a Protoss army, you're not really too concerned about that.
Yeah, I think he maybe managed to take out 1 or 2 Infestors, but there's still 5 on the board, which is great. And 2-2 Lings will kill almost anything. We saw them taking out the Colossus there. They have the amount of damage necessary. Double Forged Twilight Council is coming behind this with a Warp Prism. And perhaps he can think to hold that natural against elite Zerglings, but Hive is on the way, so... this is not a great position for the Protoss player. Scarlett is having to at least to re-establish her third. That's really one thing that NaNiwa has going for him. He did take that base out.
Yeah. The double forge it's smart-ish. NaNiwa realizes that you can't fight 0-0 Protoss, especially after losing all your big tech units. 0-0 against 2-2 Lings, it just kind of doesn't work. So getting that double forge up, trying to play catch-up on upgrades, but playing catch-up on upgrades from 2 bases with diminished probe count, I don't know about that. Not sure if that's really possible anymore at this point. And he's producing Immortals, which, against Ling Infestor, not going to do anything at all. He has Colossus available. Colossus are what you want. We do see the Ultra Cavern coming down, so maybe he's just gambling that she invests too much into the Ultras and the Immortals can counter that. But, I don't know. He just has so little to work with.
Yeah, and Scarlett's got to realize that she's been going up against an upgradeless Protoss. Those Lings have been training far too efficiently. Now, she's going to have a little bit of difficulty making her way into this base. It's a bit of a trap for these Lings, which is why she may decide just to wait for Ultras to batter the front down. She is adding a couple of Vipers into the composition, though.
That's interesting. I'm not sure what they really help with here. Warp Prism harassment coming out from NaNiwa, but Scarlett has a lot of Zerglings, give you all the map control in the world, and there's nothing else really going on, so she has nothing to do except deny this harassment. No way that accomplishes anything at all.
No, certainly not. Even these drones are not going to die as quickly because they have +2 armor. They're better armored than those Zealots right now, which is a tad embarrassing.
That they are. Bunch of Templars being worked in, so we do have Archons coming out. NaNiwa definitely recognizes this style. In fact, it's the same style that was played against him a bunch at that DreamHack we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
That was kind of the rise of Leanox, upgrade Ling Infestor, quick Ultra build, which is exactly what's happening here. So he's going up for that Archon Immortal composition, going to try and fight it with that. That's what you want, but... you know, at some point you just need a lot of units, and he doesn't really have them.
Yeah, Warp Prism hanging around the corner has not been able to do anything. Scarlett has just enough defense there to really make that work, especially against unupgraded Zealots. Scarlett throws out a huge amount of infested Terrans at the third base, which isn't there. So they're just. That's
interesting.
That's a lot of energy she just used for that. I mean, I guess it looks like more than it is, but actually she only has 5 infestors. She burned pretty much all of her energy doing that. Yeah,
that was pretty questionable because that infestor mana is very, very important. You really want to have the infested Terrans for the additional DPS, a little bit of lockdown and whatnot.
Yeah, that was a bit surprising. Even a couple of fungals would make this fight a lot easier for her.
Yeah, hopefully she doesn't get over cocky, because if she doesn't have a great economy, if she somehow throws away this army, that could be the end of it. I just don't see that happening.
Well, Storm is about to finish. There's 4 Templars. I mean, if every Ling gets killed by Storm, and that was a pretty good one. Speaking of that, that took a large chunk of the Ling army out.
Yeah, but there's still so many there. There's the single Ultra, but with a bunch more Ultras coming to join it. And with those Queens, those just aren't going to die. Those Transfuses are going to do so much work. And
Catch the Templar out, very, very nice. And here it is. There's the Siege coming out right now. There is a little bit of fungal energy, but the feedbacks go down, so no fungal for you right now. But Scarlett has almost broken this natural ramp. Lings get in and surround the Immortal, killing it off before it's able to bring its guns to bear on the Ultralisks right now. The charge on the Zealots comes in, and the Zealots just get absolutely massacred against these 5-3 Ultralisks. The Queen's providing support from the back here. Most of the Lings did end up getting killed, but they got into the base. They're in the mineral line. They're devastating absolutely everything right now. The Archons are not even killing this Ultralisk. It's immortal with that much transfuse. It finally goes down, but there's the GG, and Scarlett evens it up.
Ultras with 5 Queens transfusing against 1/1 Protoss units. They tend to survive quite a bit. That was really well, I don't know. Kind of disappointed in NaNiwa there. It looked like he had done his homework. He knew that Scarlett liked that Ling upgrade style, and going 2 base Colossus is, I would say, the hard counter to it. But if he's seen her play those games, he knows that every single game she goes for a Ling counterattack the moment a Protoss moves out, and he just was not ready for it and didn't deal with it well. I don't know. I think it's worth it against her if you're going to do that style. You get the Forge, you get the Cannon, you just counterattacks are too important to disregard. Plus the upgrades anyway. I don't know. It felt like he had a good idea. He just didn't bring it all together.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It was really nicely executed there by Scarlett. Non NaNiwa's map choice. I wonder if we're going to be seeing these weird alternate trades as we go forward here.
Yeah, that's true.
We might. All right, well, this will be the time for NaNiwa to try and get that advantage back. Because if he gets that momentum, and then he has Yonsu, which is a map that we know that Scarlett is very uncomfortable on, then he may be able to get that critical kind of 3-1 lead, which really lets you snowball towards the finish there. But the next map is Frost, which I think, yeah, that's not a map that Scarlett hates, actually. If it was Polar Night, this might be a different matter, but well, Frost is looking pretty good for both players, I think, actually.
Frost is a good map for that mass muta style, because it's just so big and open and multi-path that anything that makes the game big and spread out and whatnot is good for mutas, because they're so fast, so good at harassment and counterattacks and base trades and whatnot. So I would say she's definitely looking, well, almost definitely. She does really like that Ling Infestor style, but I would say she's probably wants to play towards a mid-game mass muta kind of composition. And I don't know. I'm not really sure if NaNiwa has studied her, and that last build was like very well prepared and very intelligent. And if that's the case, then he's going to know that she's going to go mutas on here. That's what she's looking for. And he's going to be going Phoenix and trying to deal with it as he did that first game. Or if he just happened to be going 2 base Colossus last game and got kind of lucky and it didn't work out. And if that's the case, then maybe he doesn't know what she's going to do here.
Possibly. We're going to take a quick break, folks, and when we come back, we will be bringing you Game 3 of Scarlett versus NaNiwa right here, and it's going to be on Frost. Don't go anywhere. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are bringing you Game 3 right here of Scarlett versus NaNiwa, which has also already proved, actually, to be a fantastic matchup between these two players.
Yeah, a bunch of weird strategies, even in the first 2 games. Ling Infestor, for anyone who watches Scarlett a lot, is pretty normal, but in CVP right now, not normal at all.
No.
And then the 1 Stalker DT rush from NaNiwa into 2 Stargate Void Ray in the previous game. That kind of stuff is so scary to play against the Zerg, because it's the Protoss who knows how to get an advantage rolling. Like, if you do any damage at all with the DTs, then just afterwards you're up against another annoying tech choice and another annoying tech choice after that. So frustrating.
Absolutely. The sponsors that made this happen, folks, are at the bottom of this list. I'd like to give a particular shout out to Coinapult, one of our sponsors today. You can use that service to send Bitcoin to any email address or mobile number in the US and Canada. Check them out at coinapult.com, and their Twitter to follow is Coinapult and Eric Voorhees. That is Eric with a K, Voorhees. Alright, we're going to be going into the next match right here. It is, of course, a best of 7 series, and we currently have both players 1 apiece. So here we go. Welcome to Frost, ladies and gentlemen, featuring Asa Toss Imber, also known as Scarlett, in the blue trunks, playing Zerg to the northeast of Frost, versus her opponent to the southwest position, in fact. Compass is good. And the red trunks playing Protoss. It's Alliance NaNiwa.
The sponsors are really useful, because I just started getting interested in Bitcoin stuff, and I'm like, I don't know how to do any of this stuff. And then I hear you plug them, and I'm like, oh, that's how. And I can go check that out afterwards.
Yeah, NaNiwa's a notorious Luddite when it comes to technology. We're considering just using Coinapple to actually send him his prize money, but we eventually got him to set up a wallet, so it's all good.
Well, you say that now. It hasn't been transferred yet. He'll find some way to mess it up.
You know, it actually surprises me how many Starcraft pros are actually sort of technologically impaired, I guess.
Oh, yeah, I have absolutely no idea how to do anything. I'm actually casting this from my sister's laptop because I'm at home for Christmas, and it took me, like, years to get everything set up.
Well, it seemed to work pretty well. So you're there with your... I believe you took your recording equipment with you, actually, didn't you?
Yeah, I have my microphone. I wasn't going to trust their stuff with that. But...
Yeah, that would have been good. We have the biggest show match in history, and it's done like on the internal mic of a of some like Lenovo laptop or something like that. That wouldn't be so good. But no, you brought the, I believe you used the Blue Yeti, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good mic. Good solid mic. I'd actually recommend it to anyone that wants to do podcasting or maybe commentary or YouTube videos kind of as a starter. It's a nice kind of thing you just plug in and it works.
Yeah, anything's better than a headset mic, at least.
Yup.
For all of the ones that I've had to plug over the years as sponsors, it's just, I don't know, it just doesn't seem to be possible to have a headset mic that actually does broadcast quality audio.
There isn't one. I've looked. There really isn't. If you want to do a headset, you've got to do what MLG or NASL or anyone doing. They actually use Sennheiser HMD 26s, but you can't just plug that into your laptop and go. You've got to plug that into a bunch of other stuff to make it sound good.
Yeah, and no gamer is actually going to take the time to do that, even they're being paid to cast the show match. We're just too lazy.
Indeed. What do you think to this hatchery placement? I mean, we saw a big 3-hatch play here. It wasn't not 3-hatch before pool, but this is a very aggressive forward hatchery here from Scarlett. Do you think this is the right place on Frost to put it?
It's something a lot of Zergs do. I haven't played the map too much. I'm not sure if it's even on the ladder. I haven't played it too much myself, but it seems like the more 12 o'clock-ish, 1 o'clock-ish base would be the more intuitive one, that this center base is really exposed. So I'm not really sure what her thought process is there. But it is a big map. NaNiwa, he's capable of cannon rushing. Like we said, he's capable of doing anything, but he's not the biggest fan of it. Gateway expansion, I think, is a pretty good read to put him on this game. So doing that is okay, but we're actually going to see. We've been talking a bit, but he's actually going 1 gate expansion off of 1 gas into 4 gateway, so the very, very early zealot pressure that's kind of popular right now. And this is going to be really hard to hold off. She doesn't even have a gas yet. Speedling is not going to be finished anytime soon. That third base, as you said, it's out in the middle. It's very exposed. It's a bit of a gamble. If it pays off, then you have this central location in control, and you have a good staging point for attacks and to further expand and whatnot. But against an opponent who's going 4 gateway zealot, but a Zergling actually gets in and is going to scout that. It's going to know exactly what's going on. Oh, but it didn't see the second gas, and it saw a sentry, which is not normally part of 4 gateway zealot. So that's going to mess with her head. She's going to think she's pretty safe at this point, I think. And she really is not at all. There's already a pylon coming down right in front of her natural.
Yeah, there's a gateway hidden around the back of it there as well that was not scouted. So she did see 3 gateways, but did not see 4. And like you said, no gas. So here comes the warp in, and things are about to get very ugly very quickly here for our Zerg player.
She has a spine crawler coming down, but the Zealots can kill that before it's any kind of a factor. More pylons coming down, and he can just continue to warp in. And she's not putting up spine crawlers at her natural. The third base is going to fall, no matter what. I don't see her defending that. And she's not preparing a fallback at her natural. So I'm not sure what she does here.
I'm quite surprised she hasn't cancelled the building of the Queen here, actually. She pops one out there. It looks like she thinks she can hold this. I don't think that's necessarily possible. A spine crawler's coming up there. The 7 Zealots and a Mothership Core? No way, surely.
I don't know if she still thinks it's going to be 3 gate or something, but against 4 gateway zealots, there's absolutely no way. It must have just been a misread on her part. She saw the sentry, she saw the 3 gateway, she assumed it was 3 gateway zealot, and underreacted. She has spine crawlers coming up at her natural now, but the damage has already been done. She made so many circlings, she lost so many queens, she's going to lose that 3rd hatchery. She even lost a few drones on top of it. And back at home, NaNiwa just comfortably going up to Stargate and continuing his probe production. So
here comes more aggression. The spine crawlers are not done yet. These zealots want to make their way into the natural mineral line, and they've done just that. This base is about to fall here. NaNiwa is going to just leave a single zealot to finish that one off. Ling's trying to get the best engagement, but NaNiwa has good position on these. Spine crawlers now come up, but there's only one remaining here. It's already taken some damage. A few roaches pop out, so looks like she might be able to hold this, but the zealot pressure keeps coming. He's just piling this on.
yeah, with the roaches, she might be able to keep herself alive, but she's already lost all of her queens except one. She's losing more and more drones to this mothership core. They're just sitting there. And the zealots are actually killing off the roaches. There's just so many of them that even with good control, she can't really do much. Now focus firing down the drones, leaving her with no economy. It's now 26 drones to 40 probes, with the tech and the gas coming up back at home for NaNiwa. Just absolutely dominant position for him. Even if she survives, the game's pretty much over.
This is not what you want going into Yonsu, which of course is going to be the next map, having lost kind of in such a brutal fashion here. This is very worrying. It looks like she took a gamble on that third base, scouted but didn't see everything, and now she's just dying to zealots, just straight up zealots. There's even an Oracle on the way there, and then there's going to be that Void Ray follow-up, which has got to be game over at that point.
Yeah, the Oracle at this point is just insult to injury. That's going to kill off the remaining drones. And then from there, Void Rays will defend any kind of roach all in. That's the only thing she really has going for her at this point. No Lear, no queens, no tech. I imagine she just leaves at this point unless she's pissed off and kind of tilty. Because she knows the game's over right now.
Yeah, it's 19 drones, now 18. The main mineral line just got pulled here as well. Roaches are on the way. They're going to take approximately 5 years to get across, which is going to take... I mean, that's more than enough time for NaNiwa to warp in enough to actually defend this. He has the superior economy. A Spore Crawler is going up. That Oracle got 13 kills. There's only 12 drones remaining. Spore Crawler finally drives it away. Roaches are on the way, but there's only 9 of them. There's a Void Ray out. There's going to be a second one out by the time they hit. There's nothing that Scarlett can do at this point. She's going to throw it at the enemy. She's going to find out, oh, well, there's Void Rays, that's it. And then she's going to have to tap out of the game. There's no real option at this point, unless NaNiwa decides to go to sleep for the next few minutes. Yeah,
I would imagine so. I think even at that point, as long as he queues up 5 Void Rays before he nods off, I think he'd be pretty okay. I don't know. She's producing drones. I think she's just kind of unhappy with the way that early game went. And that's understandably so. That's so frustrating, because it's the kind of situation where if the pylon gets up, the damage is going to be done, and with the misread on top of it, it feels like such an unjust loss from the Zerg's perspective. It's like you didn't really mess up that much. You had very little room to make any mistakes, and you still just flat out got destroyed. It feels so terrible. So she's not happy right now. She's just going to sit here and kind of drag it out and try and calm herself and deal with it and move on to the next game in a better mental state.
Yeah, that seems to be it, certainly. There's not really much that she can do here with these roaches. 3 Void Rays is enough to decimate that army very quickly. With only 1 queen out, there's no way she can really defend it. So that pretty much will be that, which is a little anticlimactic, I've got to say. We're seeing NaNiwa throwing down a Twilight Council here, just in case, because, you know, why not? Perfectly placed photon cannon will deny these lings as they come in. Able to get a single probe, but come on, it's 21 workers killed to 2.
You just gotta kind of claw your way back in there. The tenacity. Although I don't know how much that's going to help against 3 Void Rays with no anti-air.
Yeah, I think you need a little bit more than tenacity. Unless tenacity can shoot up, that's not going to help.
Nope. And roaches against Void Rays, not the best, not ideal for Zerg either. And hatchery will fall immediately. Yep. I don't know. I guess she'll just make a last stand and then leave. Hopefully.
I guess so. I can't see any other way around it. You know, Void Ray charge is being used. The roaches are coming into play here. Spine's coming up, but there's nothing that shoots up, really. So this is not going to work at all for Ace of Scarlett, I'm afraid. And she's going to have to be going on to the next map, which will, of course, be Yonsu, a map that she absolutely hates. Starts her lair tech, which I feel is a little optimistic.
She has a second queen coming out, so that will be some additional anti-air. I'm not sure if that's going to be quite enough here.
I don't think so, somehow.
Those force fields actually kind of counterproductive there, trapping the zealots away from the roaches. Not that it matters.
Not really. She still doesn't have an answer to the mothership core and the Void Rays, unless, of course, the mothership core dies, which it does, but even then, there's still 3 charged Void Rays, and again, not much that shoots up. So this natural's dead. There's the GG, perhaps a little delayed, and NaNiwa takes his 2nd map in this series.
And Yonsu next, and we've been talking about Yonsu, but I believe Polar Knight's the 5th map, and Polar Knight is a slightly better version of Yonsu for Zerg. It's still very, very difficult in the early game, and she likes her Ling style there, but the Link style has some weaknesses, and it's just generically not a very good map for Zerg. So going into these last 2 maps, down 1-2, not at all where Scarlett wanted to be. She needed a win on Star Station and or Frost very badly.
Do you feel that there's a possibility of an all-in coming here from Scarlett on this map?
Maybe. I don't know. She's a competitor. She's done well at lots of tournaments over and over. It's hard to think that just because she doesn't like a map, she's going to look at a 1-2 situation and do some silly all-in on it. And Zerg doesn't have any high percentage all-ins against Protoss. It's just, that's not how the race works. There's not a whole lot you can do early on against building walls, force fields, and cannons. So I'd be pretty surprised. Maybe a 10 pool, maybe something like that. She has shown that she's willing to 10 pool in the past, and that's kind of okay against a decent number of builds. But Zerg just doesn't have the best options if they want to get aggressive early on. It's just not built for that. So I'd be pretty surprised if she did anything too off the wall. I would expect to see the double upgrade Link style again. I think that's her best bet on this map.
Yeah, I mean, it could be her just getting perhaps in a little bit of a poor mental state about Yunsu, or maybe she was just complaining beforehand because she thought that it might unsettle her opponent. I have no idea, but I don't... Scarlett's not the giving up type, and I don't see her throw games on any map, even if she doesn't like it in particular. So we'll see how it goes. We're going to hear a short word from our sponsors, and when we come back, Game 4 of NaNiwa versus Scarlett.